Okay, at this time, we're going to open it up to questions and answers. I will collect any written questions that you may have had, or does anyone want to, go ahead.
Mr. Kelsey had mentioned something about having a sheriff or deputy sheriff here on some kind of temporary basis.
Can't hear him.
Mr. Kelsey talked about having a sheriff or deputy sheriff here on a temporary basis. What about Brimfield Police? They're right next door. What about
The cost of the Brimfield Police is about $750,000 to have them run here. We've been approached by the sheriff that for the cost of a used police car and $41,000 per township, which would be 2 townships, that would cover us 7 days a week, 8 hours a day of additional sheriff support. Okay, so fundamentally, we don't have that kind of money. Without any police coverage, that would typically take a levy, a big levy, you're talking probably 10 or 11 mils to cover the cost of a police department.
Anyone else?
I don't know who to direct this to, but what is the budget? How much money actually comes in that you're managing?
The lady who turned up the heat, and she knows if we have any budget.
Physical officers here at this meeting.
About 2.5. That's divided between the general, the road, and the fire.
$2.5 million? That's a year, that's it.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't have a very big budget. And I mean, I don't want to say that, but for what we do with it, we don't have a huge budget. We do maintain the township very well.
I was wondering, what's the latest that's going on with the house? I think it's abandoned on the corner of Waterloo and Martin Road there.
Yeah, yeah.
That house was submitted to the land bank. They approved the construction of it, so it's right now it's in the county's hands to get a contractor and tear it down. So the land bank will be done by I think by the end of the year. Everything will be.
The empty lot that will be there after it's torn down, where will that be, how will that be dispersed as far as?
Well, legally, what we're understanding is gonna happen is that the taxes will still go to the lien holder, which is some bank, I believe, Lori, aren't they in Texas or Alabama or something? Usually it's an out-of-state bank.
It is a bank.
They'll be charged the taxes on the property. They'll also, we can charge them to have the property maintained. So if it starts getting overgrown, we can send them a letter, force them to mow it, add that to the taxes. If the taxes go delinquent, it'll go for a sheriff's sale.
Now, I was wondering, because the party that lives next door was interested in that, you know? And it is an eyesore for them. They've been cutting the grass close around there every time they cut theirs. And I thought that, you know, being it joins their property, plus that building there is, it's a blind spot when you come to that crossing and stop, because you can't see it, the setback isn't far enough.
Right.
And that's another thing.
And what I would suggest at that point is once the house comes down, he can get with, Lori, I think you have that
I would
information.
either
or
call
the
the bank or
county.
call the county.
Yeah.
The county will have the
They
records.
can, the banks may be interested in moving that property. That, especially that one that's buildable. This one over here is gonna be a little tougher to move because it really can't do anything with it. But, the property, once the house is demolished, everything's kind of out of our hands until there's a sheriff's sale, until those taxes go delinquent. So they're more than free to, make any kind of offer they want to the bank. And the county will have all that information. Every one of the houses that gets torn down has a packet with it that's got pictures, reviews, inspections from all the departments that had to inspect it, as well as the contact letters that went to banks, the lien holders, everybody involved. So they have the actual owners.
How does a party get the information when that goes up for, say, from the banks or whatever they're gonna do for an auction or?
I think it's in the paper. If he wants to be aggressive, he could probably call the regional planning and get the bank's information and make them an offer before it goes that far. So-
Yeah.
This is something, some of these things are kind of new to the township because we really haven't had a rash of demolitions. So we're kind of feeling our way through, and the county is helping us with that.
roads?
Yeah,
They have to have licenses and
They don't have a license.
I know, they don't get license. And you can't catch them, and you call the sheriff, and they
They don't
say,
do that.
have a nice
Yeah.
day.
hopefully the increased patrols will help with that. I mean, we have seen a serious, I believe, a reduction on Martin Road. People who lived over there, have you noticed a reduction in speeders at some point in the day? Has to be better than it was.
On Martin Road, or are we
Yeah.
talking about the four-wheelers?
Well, both, just the presence of police is gonna help with that.
ATV people, they still go up on the right of way for, apparently there's something there that they do late at night.
Yeah.
And there are, I think it has improved a little bit. I've seen people, some people driving a lot slower down Martin Road, that's where I live, as opposed to 55 miles an hour, is what I used to do.
So you think the deputy is working?
Yeah, it is. I've noticed a lot of people traveling maybe 45 instead of 55, so I'd say it's good.
The information you had provided on the, getting the sheriffs to patrol the area, is that something that's gonna happen, or depending on, I kind of wasn't clear on that?
Currently, I think we pay an additional $42 an hour, and we've requested, I think it's 6 additional hours a week of strictly patrolling in Suffield Township, okay? The sheriff is required to protect the jail and the courthouse. That's all that they're required to do by law. So anytime we see a sheriff's car out here, he's either reporting it or coming out for a claim or an accident or something, or they just out of the goodness of their heart are driving around wasting some gas. So we've asked, or they've kind of come to us and said, this is an option. They do it with some other municipalities, which is just contract labor. If we choose to go the route of a car, where we would find a car that we would purchase, the rate would drop down to $28 an hour. So, because the car would be ours, it would still be insured, all the costs would be incurred by the sheriff's office, it would be a sheriff's deputy in a sheriff's car, but we would pay that bill.
I think Marlboro Township has one for sale.
Do they? Yeah, they told us you can get a good used sheriff or police car for about $5,000 to $8,000.
First day out of patrol.
Yeah, and then the sheriff said they would equip it with all the radios and all the equipment that they have. They just don't have enough cars to do this type of thing with every township. They'd have to have the township purchase a vehicle.
So right now, we're paying 43 something an hour?
42 an hour right now, and it will drop down to 28. I believe those are the numbers.
Yeah. And that doesn't include the court costs, that's just for patrolling. Court costs are paid by sheriffs, correct?
Yeah, it would be our only charge. We have no additional insurance that would be levied on that.
And we get no income from the
No.
citation?
No, we don't get any income from the citations, and neither do they. That all goes into the general fund.
Who's general fund?
The counties.
State law that way.
Of the other possible trustees, would you be willing to go along with that?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Mr. DeBusky?
Absolutely. It's cheaper than $800,000 for your own police force.
And the question comes, is that enough hours?
Well, it's a slippery slope. Like Dave said, the cost of a police force, when you start doing things outside what you're mandated to do by the revised code, you don't have to have a police department. But if you choose to do it, then you have a whole other chapter in the revised code that tells you what you have to do. So you can't do a police department for $100,000. You can't do it for 3 volunteers in a car. You have to run it the way the revised code says. So the minimum would be about $800,000. This way we can start down that path of getting some exposure. It's my hope that 4 hours a day of sporadic patrol is enough to subdue the drivers, or just get people to